that we've ended 2024, and now we're going to 2025.
That's correct.
That I did the math right.
It's not math.
Do you
it's
have?
just
Yes. Then yeah, add a year. And it's 2025.
adding one?
It's math.
I guess, technically, yes.
Do you have any thoughts about the passing of 2024?
No, it was an interesting year. A lot happened. I moved to Florida, kind of.
Yes.
Trump was elected. That was interesting. I graduated undergrad too, all in the same year.
You had a lot of stuff.
I did have a
going
lot
on
of stuff.
there. Yeah.
Stuff over the summer too. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked a lot over the summer. Yeah, you had a lot of personal experiences.
I guess I did. Yeah.
Yes, very good.
Do you not have any thoughts about 2024?
I think it was one of the most bizarre years
for sure.
in my life.
Yeah.
Aside from the personal stuff, but I think in American history,
Yeah. Oh,
I think it's going to go down as one of the most momentous years.
definitely one of the strangest elections of all time.
Yes.
With Biden dropping out, 3 months before the election? Was that about when it was? 4 months?
It was longer than that. I think because
feels like really
it was
short.
like June,
Yeah.
and then it took him a few weeks to have the convention
That's right.
to officially nominate Harris, and then so was that in August maybe?
I think so, yeah.
And
I
then
guess
so
it
she was
yeah.
officially running from that point on. But yeah, it's a weird world we're living in.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
But there's certain timeless concepts that Mr. Soul writes about that I think will help us guide us through these difficult times.
That's true. Do you have any thoughts for 2025 about what's to come?
Yeah, what's our predictions?
I don't know.
What's your prediction for 2025? Well, let's not say you. I mean, unless you want to make a personal prediction. But what do you think? What do you think the world will look like this time next year? Like, do you have any ideas or concepts?
I don't know. I'm a little optimistic, I think.
you?
I think things are looking a little bit for the better. I think people are kind of moving past a lot of the leftist nonsense that's been going on. I think there's a lot less support for a lot of the crazy LGBT stuff, a lot less support for the sort of radical communists that are out there. I don't know. Sometimes, that stuff's always going to crop up a little bit, but I think more just normal people feel more at ease to speak their mind, I think. What are your predictions?
Some days I feel like you're 100% right. And then other days I think that it's going to be the biggest catastrophic year in American history.
Really?
I think that we're, as a nation, heading towards a fiscal catastrophe. I think that our leadership in Washington, D.C. has failed us long enough that I think if I were an enemy of the United States, early 2025 is when I would strike. And I think I'd probably strike in the financial markets first before a military strike. And we're tremendously vulnerable there. China has been divesting from buying our debt and our bonds. And I think it would be certainly Russia feels like they are justified in taking some action against us, seeing how we're supplying all sorts of arms in Ukraine to kill their soldiers.
Yeah.
I think we'd probably look sideways at that if we decided, screw it, we're invading Mexico, and then a bunch of our troops are getting slaughtered by Russian missiles.
Yeah.
I think even if we just decided, like I advocate sometimes, to invade Mexico because they've invaded us already, it's really a counter invasion or counterattack.
Right.
We'd be probably not happy about it, about China and Russia supplying arms to the Mexican insurgency or Mexican nation or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like Trump has been listening to this podcast because he's been advocating for taking Panama and Canada and Greenland and annexing them. I don't know how serious he is about that, but it's very funny.
Yeah, I think the Canada one was a joke.
Yes.
Although, why not? I mean, if they want to join us, I think they should be a territory first. In all seriousness, I mean, but they're. I mean, if they keep going down the path they're going on, they may end up being a failed state too. Greenland, as I understand it, is actually ruled technically by Denmark.
It's Denmark, yeah, it's property of
Why don't they declare independence and they can become an American territory?
That's true.
And that's a huge strategic base there. Huge landmass, although it's mostly covered in ice and snow.
That's true.
The Panama Canal, that was, I was talking to your brother about Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
That was one of the failed things that Jimmy Carter did.
Didn't he sell that to Panama for?
He didn't sell it. He just gave it to
$1.
him. Yeah, he just gave it to him. And a lot of people died. A lot of Americans died mainly from malaria and illness in constructing that. And there is a treaty. And if in fact, I haven't really read up on it recently, but if in fact China is in control of it, I don't know why we wouldn't say nope, we're taking it back. I mean, why not?
Yeah,
you know. Anyway, so yeah, I think those are legitimate interests. He has not yet said we should invade Mexico, which I'm really disappointed. Yeah. But you got to pick your battles in order which. But anyway, so I think. Back to my original thing, I'm some days I'm really like it feels like you were talking about, like the fever has broken with all this nonsense about Trump Hitler references, and especially when he had the rally in New York City where they literally were making comparisons to Hitler having a rally there back in 1930s or whatever, when there have been so many political rallies of both parties, it's a big venue. Yeah. I mean they. I'm sure like a comedian has played there. Yeah. Like it's Jerry Seinfeld, a Nazi. I mean, it's the same venue.
Which it's not even the same building. I don't know if you saw that, but it's Madison Square Garden, right?
Yeah.
The Nazi rally, before World War II. But showing support for Nazism and whatever. But the building that was held in was torn down, it's not even the same location. Yeah. It's just a place that has the same name, and it's just an event space. But because Trump was there, and then almost 100 years ago, Nazis were also there. Therefore, Trump supports Nazis.
Well, the left has been so ahistorical the last couple of years. They're so stupid. The media leftists. So I think you're absolutely right. There's reason to be optimistic about a lot of that,
and that's one of the reasons why I am optimistic. Because I think as soon as Trump gets in office, and if he actually does follow through on some of the things he's saying he's going to do, and if he's not just stonewalled by Congress every step of the way, then the media is going to throw a fit about every single thing. But I think there's a lot of people now who are like, I don't really care. What CNN or NBC or whoever's saying at this point. I think there's still a lot of people who will throw a fit, and some people who are like, yeah, did you see what this person said about this person and stuff like that. But because they've been so relentless, about him and just making stuff up, that there's a lot of people out there who are just like, yeah, I don't care at this point.
Well, I think we'll kind of know how dysfunctional it'll be probably a little bit tomorrow with the election of the Speaker of the House. So we're recording this on January 2nd. So that vote's supposed to take place tomorrow, and it's like I don't think Speaker Johnson's the bee's knees, but who else is going to do that job?
It's the worst job in the whole government.
Granted, I don't know what as far as this continuing resolution or whatever, it was nonsense. I don't know why he would have put that forward, but maybe I don't understand it. But it's I feel much better if they just said, well, look, if you're not going to cut spending or you're not going to do something responsible, then we just won't pass anything.
Yeah.
And there was a media story last week saying, oh, this last Congress was the least productive Congress, meaning the passing of bills and laws that we've had in many years. I'm like, amen. Yeah. Unless you're repealing things, I don't know why you need to pass. I mean, how many times do you have to write the laws? At some point we have them all written. But I think that will be an interesting. I think the big thing for me, what I'm looking for, like literally day one, is if he revokes the security clearances for at least 51 particular people that signed that letter saying the laptop was Russian disinformation, the Hunter Biden laptop. Yeah. If he doesn't revoke their security clearances on day one, maybe like the first week or so, he's gonna be busy. But if they're not revoking security clearances for hundreds of military, ex-CIA, ex-military, all these politicians and Marxists that have been infiltrating our system and using it for financial gain after they leave office, that's going to be a big tell to me that we're never going to change. The other thing is actually firing people that are in the government, and we'll see, like if this Doge effort actually pays some dividends. But I've thought in the years past, I thought Elon Musk was a goofball, and boy, he's proven that wrong. Yeah. So I mean, if he's, and he seems to be very much involved in it, and he's asking the right questions, making the right points. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But I think we'll know within the first month. Okay, oh God, it's just going to be another 4 years. Oh yeah, the other thing is, the third thing is if they actually reform the White House press access. Which is overdue. In fact, I think they ought to just shut it down. There's no reason for the taxpayers to fund office space for these media companies. They can buy their own sets, and Trump can go walk across the street, or they can come visit him, or whatever. But why is there a press room where they have assigned seats? And why don't the Nelk boys have a seat in the front row? The front row. They're podcasters. They interviewed Trump.
Oh yeah.
And maybe J.D. Vance, super popular guys. Or why not Theo Von? I mean, Theo Von's has a bigger audience than CNN.
Yeah. Or Joe Rogan. I mean, I think it's
Joe Rogan, he would not have an interest. But why can't Joe Rogan have a delegate there? And wouldn't it be interesting if Joe Rogan had one of his comedian buddies? Joe could give him a list of 10 questions. Hey, ask one of these 10 questions if you're called on. And I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, they're much more in tune, like a lot of those podcast guys, with what the American people want to ask.
Yes,
'cause it's like all of these news agencies, they just have whatever story they want to tell, and they go in with that.
Right.
But if you bring these people who just aren't the talking heads on TV, they're going to be asking questions that people might actually be interested in.
Yes.
And it's entirely overdue, because nobody really watches the legacy media at this point.
Yeah, they might ask, well, why did we just the Biden just released another however many billions of dollars in arms to the Ukraine. Right. The obvious question is, who did that go to and why?
Yeah.
And is there accounting for it? And Joe Rogan's people would actually ask that question,
Sure.
And anyway, so that I think has to be done immediately, and they'll scream and howl, but I think now would be a perfect time, because they've discredited themselves so much, as you said. Like MSNBC's readership or viewership dropped like 50%.
There's talks of that being liquidated, like all of MSNBC just being sold off, because there's just nothing.
Correct.
So few people actually sit and watch it. Regularly.
And I wouldn't want to buy it, because you probably have to if you take that and you buy that interest, then you're probably stuck with their contracts with their so-called talent.
Yeah.
But I think a bankruptcy would be great, and then they can get out of those contracts. And
Rachel Maddow, I think, is the only person who I know on MSNBC, and just because she's
Joy Reid, isn't she on there?
Is she on
She's
MSNBC?
on MSNBC,
That's right.
And I mean, I don't watch it. You see these clips of these ridiculous people there.
Yeah, which is really funny, because the only time that I ever see people talking, on these news channels is if those clips are reposted, like on Twitter or on Instagram or something.
Right.
It's like there's, especially young people, I'm sure there's older people who still sit down and actually watch TV news. Not many. But for any young people, their exposure to, these news hosts is on social media.
Yeah.
When they're talked about by other people who are more in touch, with people.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, today I'm not optimistic. Tomorrow I might be optimistic, but then
you go back and forth.
All the time, and I like so much of what Trump said during the campaign, but there's other stuff. It's like, we got to go down that path again.
Yeah, I think politically it's going to be rough for a little bit. I don't think it's going to be easy. I'm not optimistic about the political process. I think culturally we're a little bit better. I think just the fact that Trump won and that it was such a landslide victory, I think that...
It wasn't really a landslide.
I mean, I think not in terms of sheer votes, but in getting all of the swing states and all of that.
People, it's not... I mean, it's the first time a Republican has won a popular vote in many, many years, which is Bush 2, I guess, Bush Jr., but it's like it was still close. There's still a lot of people out there that voted for that idiot Kamala Harris.
Sure.
I mean, and of course they say things about Trump. How could you possibly vote for him? But I understand why people don't vote for Trump. But man, I mean, she was an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, my God. and they're so corrupt. And to be a Democrat, I was watching an interview of what's the guy's name? He's the Teamsters president.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And
I can't place his name.
I forget his name too, but he was like, yeah, they didn't even run a primary, you know, and they're just demanding support, and that was their attitude. I think that's a real reason why Trump won. That and RFK Jr. I think really made a big difference in those swing voters.
Yeah,
But anyways, so on to 2025.